gonna continue on with a part 2. Basically, like I mentioned in the previous video, this experience is all based on relationships. Even when it comes to business, you know what I'm saying? Like, you basically have to have relations in order for you to buy and exchange, start messing up relationships. It closes that avenue, for profit. So, you got guys like Elon Musk, who was asked in an interview about his wealth, his riches and whatnot. And he even said, he's like, well, it's not like I carry a wallet with like $1 million in it. It's not like I have a bank account that, shows I have $1 trillion. He says the reason his net worth is so high is because of investors and what his company is valued at. And his company is valued at $1 billion, but it is all valued by the investors. You get what I'm saying? So he even said if Tesla goes bankrupt, then he would go bankrupt. Now, he invested, of course, a certain percentage into it to become part owner of it. But at the end of the day, it's his creation. But again, his creation is valued because of investors. Money is a symbol of power because of people. Religion is a symbol of power because of people. Now, don't put yourself in victim mode, because technically it's just you basically giving information that you are, you're basically misunderstanding it. You know what I'm saying? The whole story of Jesus, God, in every religion comes down to basically, it goes back to the sun. And when you look at the sun, all right, the whole story, the allegories they use with these religious figures, they died, ascended in 3 days, have 12 followers and whatnot. I mean, you look at the sun, you see, you could look up the Crux constellation, where the sun basically dies for 3 days, and then it basically ascends, and you have the 12 calendar months of the year, the 12-hour clock cycle. And you could go back and look at this to the 12 disciples, and it's all about becoming that number 13. But that symbol of power, it's technically, they're not lying to you. They're giving you the story, they're just anthropomorphizing it. And then when they do that, you basically look at it from the perception of your limited human form. You hear what I'm saying? Now, when you look beyond that perception of human form, and you think that, God or Jesus is basically it was a man just like you with special abilities, you look at yourself and then you say that's so far-fetched. Like, for example, when I mentioned before about businesses and systems that don't have your best interest at hand, you know what I'm saying? The reason they're so lucrative, like, for example, why is Tesla's business so lucrative? I mean, Tesla is basically the electric cars, right? You have other companies that, they sell electric cars, but why is Tesla the number one? Why, he has something called SpaceX. Now, I've mentioned this in previous videos. You cannot leave planet Earth the way you think you can leave planet Earth. You cannot just get out physically out of space. I don't believe you could do that. You know what I'm saying? That's like me saying I can physically get out of my body. You cannot do that. You experience something called sleep paralysis. You're at that exact point where you are basically, the next step is to come out of body. However, you don't know what to do, so you start to fear and you try to move, and you can't move because your body's offline. But when you don't do that, let's say, at that moment where you have sleep paralysis, you're aware that you have sleep paralysis. All you have to do is think about moving and you will come out of body. Maintaining your emotions and your maintaining your frame to some extent. Because people say, I'm afraid that when I come out, I can't come back in. No, it's harder to stay out. See, that's why you have to maintain a real balanced state when you come out, where you're not thinking and you're not becoming emotional, like excited or anything, or fearful, because you'll pop right back into your body. You know what I'm saying? So the moment that you experience sleep paralysis, when somebody's trying to come out of body, right? The key is to put the body to sleep. So you start to feel your body vibrating, but then you're experiencing the sleep paralysis. That next step is you coming out of body. So the same way, your human vessel, all right, is a technology that requires a certain technique for you to come out. This blueprint of what they call SpaceX is valuable because it's used the technology, reverse engineering your body to be able to know how to basically everything that you see out here as far as technology goes is a blueprint of your human vessel. Okay. Now, when you look at certain Area 51, these secret bases, they're so secretive that, that if you go too close to it, they have the authority to shoot you down. Now, if the government is for the people, by the people, why so much, force to keep you away from something because it's so secret? Because we're taught to believe that in there they have these flying spaceships and alien spacecraft. And then they reverse engineering it. See, this technology is ran from you. What they reverse engineer is your body. And then when they talk about the little green men, this is your heart chakra's green. You're the little green men. Your soul. So these little secret areas have you thinking in a way that you can leave space, right? They're technically not lying, because when you come out of body, you're leaving your space, your earth realm, all right? Because when you come out of, this terrain, you're basically now extraterrestrial, technically, because this is land. This is your earth, your planet. You're like a walking universe. You could look at your body as a tree, which you are, like a big tree. You could look at yourself as a sun. You could look at yourself as a whole planet. Whatever. When you leave your body, when you come out of body, okay, or even when you're astral projecting, let's say, where you're just basically kind of like in a daydream-like state, but in a more lucid way. But you're basically leaving your space. I mean, your space is your space, like how we want to look at it. But you're leaving your terrain. You're coming out of body, but it requires a technology for you to come out of body, right? So I believe this whole technology here that you see is reverse engineered from your technology. So why is SpaceX so valuable? Because they have you thinking, right, in a certain way to keep this reality going, that you cannot leave unless you get into a very expensive flying object to get out of space, with all the jet fuel and all the technology and all the, the prepping that you have to do before you get out of here. And it requires resources, right? Money. So it seems so far-fetched. You look at Jesus, it seems so far-fetched to be just like him. That's why you worship him. You look up to the government because it looks so far-fetched to come out of space, when in reality, it's understanding your technology, and these things that you can do are actually free. And you'll be surprised with so much technology that you actually have, that all that will look outdated. Right? So who's really the powerful resource here? Who's really the billion-dollar man here? Huh? You create this story that you can't do it. So create the story that you could do it. Right? And look at it from the inversion of it, because we're living evil. And the reason we live evil is because evil backwards is live. So you live inverted due to ignorance, which ignorance to me is evil. Right? But it's not evil where we're looking at it as bad or good. Bad or good doesn't exist. Evil is inversion. Right? There is no bad or good. Right? And if I can give you a story, right, but I can give it to you in a distorted way, and you take it a certain way, I'm technically not lying to you. You took it a certain way. Like marketing. Marketing, they create a need for the product they're selling. For a good salesman has to create a need for you to actually buy the product. But you may not even really need it. But you may fall for what they say. They give you a good pitch, right? So they got you, meaning they attained you. They got your attention. That's why when you look at anything and you look at the word entertain, right? You can attain things, right? You attain something. You could detain something, hold it, right? When you look at this word in Spanish, entertain is entretener. Entre is enter. Tener is to have, right? Excuse me. Now, when you look at it in past tense, entretener, tener is have. Now, entertained is entretuvo, which means tuve is past tense. But tuve could be in your possession or in their possession. Tener could be in your possession or their possession. So when you look at things, you have to ask yourself, am I entertaining it or is it entertaining me? Now, the value, whose value is it? Now, this is why when you look at certain systems like the pharmaceutical industry, right? Doctors, they look like they're doing good things for people, but in actuality, They depend on sick people for them to make money. And the pharmaceutical industry works by giving doctors a cut. I mean, not a cut, but like a paycheck for every time they prescribe medication to people. So then these people now are on drugs. But then doctors have to take an oath to do no harm, because with this kind of power comes great responsibility. So this means that they have to make sure that they keep this under control, not to overdrug you. You know, and there's people I know that go into the doctor's office for one thing and they come out on 3 different medications for things they didn't originally go in for, like antidepressant or whatnot. Like, even the person said, well, I never said I had depression, but they said that these things may be caused by that. So, you know, they got me on antidepressant medication, completely altering the body's natural chemistry, your dopamine levels, everything that has your gut health, everything. So then now when you get all fucked up later on, you got to go back to them, keep you dependent on them. So you're a repeat customer. The religious system keeps you coming back every week to the church because you give your hard-earned money for charity, right? But then yet you look at these priests, preachers, they're driving expensive cars and they got some big ass houses. And you know what? They don't get taxed. Who else doesn't get taxed? People who sell drugs in the street, mafia, right? These people don't get taxed because they're not working through the system. But then the government, right, doesn't tax the religious system. And then you got the pharmaceutical industry, which gives people medication, but they depend on people to be sick. Now, you got guys, for example, like Dr. Robert Morse, right, where you would say, well, a guy like him depends on sick people also for him to make money. But then when you look at it and you understand how the system works, and he's doing it where he's genuinely learning, helping to heal people, not treat people through symptoms, but he's getting to the root cause of the issue. Now, you can tell with the passion he's doing it with, the education that he gives out online for people to actually educate themselves and see through the corruption of certain systems. All right, you could tell that this is a way where he's making money, but he's also genuinely helping people, though. Now, doctors may or may not know any better, right? But it's not their fault. It's just like when you're a nutrition counselor. They're teaching people to eat a certain way based on what they were taught a proper nutritional diet is for somebody to lose weight, to take excessive amount of protein or whatnot, not knowing the condition of the body. Should they even be intaking protein? How do you know? By diagnosing the body first and seeing the condition of the cells and the condition of the body through the iris, which is called iridology. So then when you do this, you would know what type of foods they could be eating and what they could handle at that moment. Nutrition is what your body can do with the things that you put into it. It's just like if I'm giving you information, you're processing my information as I'm speaking to you. Could you process what I'm telling you? Do I have to break it down for you? Make it more bioavailable? You know? Because sometimes it's just a level of intellect. And, you know, they tell you after time, if you don't use what you got, it atrophies. So that's why it's important to use your mind. Your mind is a tool. Your brain is a tool. Everything's a tool out here. Everything. Even the shit that you see that's corrupt is a tool. Because you're learning through all those things to awaken yourself to what is actually. You can see what your real strengths are sometimes by seeing the weakness and the opportunities in things. So when you got guys like Elon Musk, his value is very high because it keeps the system empowered for people to believe that life is a certain way. They're keeping them kind of like in the pecking order of things. You know? You don't want to teach too much about your body, the technology that it has, and what abilities you have, because then all these things will become obsolete out here, the things that they're presenting to you. And it's all proposing to you. They propose all these things to you. It's up to you to engage. It's like when a couple get engaged, there has to be a proposal. You can say yes or no. When you're engaged, now you have a wife. A wife is an esposa, cuffs. And when you have a wife, you, believe it or not, you have limitations. Limitations that you don't have I mean, you have limitations that you don't have when you were single. But that's just different perceptions. You know what I'm saying? Depends on you, what freedom is to you. You know? When you have a lot of money, right? You buy a lot of things, but you're also tied down to a lot of things. What you possess sometimes possesses you. You know that? So a poor person may have less, but they have less baggage. But then you could say they have less freedom because they don't have the ability to travel or buy things like the rich person can, right? But the poor person also emits a certain low vibrational frequency when they can't make ends meet or they're stressed out because they can't pay their bills and whatnot. And again, this is a polarity matrix. Something's eating off of that deliciously. So the rich person doesn't emit those kind of frequencies, right? And then you got poor people desiring to be like that rich person, right? But then the rich person doesn't necessarily mean that they're fulfilled because they may be making money in a way that's not even fulfilling them. It may be passed down from their parents' business that they don't give a fuck about. But they have to uphold the family business and the family, generational wealth that was passed down, right? So many different ways to look at this shit. But again, it all comes down to you. The sun shines as bright on everybody. You know what I'm saying? Whether you're looking at life in a dim way or another person looking at life in a bright, passionate, loving way. The sun is shining bright on both those individuals. It's just the individual, how they're perceiving it. That's why what matters is what you do that charges you from the inside out. You become the love frequency when you get to know yourself and figure out what you love to do and what your gifts and talents are. Yeah, I mean, nothing out here matters. Nothing really exists. I mean, everything's just a story, right? But then when something happens and you react, you become a victim, right? That's a story. But how come you can't create a story for yourself where you're the superhero of this movie? Right? That would require you to put all the attention back to you. You as the sun are not generating a reality that's proposed to you. See, the whole thing is that even when we go... See, I'm going to make this disclaimer like I've done in my previous videos. I love money. Money is me. Money is love. You build with money, right? I love technology because I have been able to use technology to my advantage and to my detriment at the same time. But the thing is, there's no room for victim mode. There's no room for no kind of reason why you shouldn't be in gratitude. Because even through things that trigger you, through things that are fucking your ass up, you can actually look at that and say, well, now I'm aware of where I need to put my work and attention into. These things that are triggering me are shadow aspects of myself that I need to work on. So what do you do then? You as the sun, and you are also a walking tree, right? You got well-established roots, right? Where you're feeding nutrients from the ground up because you're nice and grounded, right? Now you start to prune and let light hit areas that are canopied, that now you can let nutrients and energy grow and blossom from, and now they can be fruitful and multiply for you, right? But what are you being fruitful and multiplying from? Better be from an empowered space, because if not, you're being fruitful and multiplying, meaning you're being fruitful to a negative energy, because you could be fruitful in a positive and in a negative way, right? To things that serve you, to things that are not. But at the end of the day, don't ever look at anything external. These things that you see that are feeding off of you, you're basically feeding off yourself. The negative aspects of yourself, due through ignorance, is you feeding off yourself because you're not aware. So you're having a bad experience here. Bad, if you want to call it bad. Unfavorable. An experience that you don't feel too good in or too empowered. Where you should feel nothing but empowered. Sometimes, the same way people get addicted to love, some people get addicted to pain. You know what I'm saying? Some people get addicted to fear because these emotions are like crack as well. I mean, you can't say that these are emotions that people, why would anybody want to feel that? Well, why do people like to watch scary movies or go into haunted houses or, do these crazy things that make them feel fearful or have that adrenaline rush? Because it's a high, But the thing is, they'll do it because it's like they're aware that they're going to feel it. But at the end of the day, when you go under, the hypnosis of how life works, you know what I'm saying? When you're aware that you're going to get hypnotized, it's harder to hypnotize you. But when you're not aware, it's easier to be hypnotized That's why when you watch TV, you're under light hypnosis. You go to a hypnosis session and you're aware that you're about to get hypnotized. Now you're having expectations. So, what are you aware of and what are you not aware of? And it's not to become too aware of things to the point where life loses that magical essence of it. We got something called metaverse that's coming out. Everybody's going to go into that. Such a new shiny little toy. And when you go in there, you'll be like, wow, oh man, everything's so cool and that. But these things are designed to take away your power, which is the imagination and your ability to think for yourself. And if you thought that privacy, invasion of privacy was bad before, this is going to be even worse. This is privacy invasion on steroids. And when you think about, censorship and I can't say certain words, what do you think? You think that in there ain't going to be censorship on steroids? You know what I'm saying? All this is going to be more controlled through an environment that you're not using your imagination and you're not thinking for yourself. But then again, these things could be tools, because the same way I just said I love technology because I'm able to use technology for my advantage, right? Where I'm able to talk to different people. I'm able to use the internet to make videos, to listen to videos and learn from certain people that are nothing but an extension and a version of me. All right. Then I'm able to learn, right? You can use the internet to connect with different people. But then again, when you perceive it differently, you can see that you're connecting to people that you never met in person. It's a 2D screen, yet you're in a 3D reality. Your people in your immediate 3D realm, you're more disconnected from those people, but more connected to a 2D reality screen. Even listening to these videos, you may not listen to your immediate family members or your immediate friends, right? To the point where you have your head down even at a dinner table. Everybody's disconnected looking at a screen. Yet this is your 3D illusionary reality. Now you're going into a metaverse. This is basically that type of disconnection, but on steroids. That's why you got to look at the pros and cons to things, not demonize it. But know what you're doing. Before you get into anything, you have to know yourself first. And I don't believe that humanity's ready for that kind of technology. Because at the end of the day, when you look at Mark Zuckerberg, right? Look at the track record he's had with invasion of privacy with Facebook and all this shit. And then now, all of a sudden, we're going to put our faith and trust into him creating an actual reality for you. This is a new reality that you're about to get into. If you look at Ready Player One and you look at the environment, when they disconnect from, that virtual reality that they were in, where everything looks, beautiful and glowing and glitz and all that, and they connect to the real world, you notice the real world looks like a waste dump? It doesn't look, because it's like people are disconnected from that, where it becomes obsolete. And then you think you're accomplishing something while you're in there, right? You're going there buying land, you're buying all these things. You think you're making it, but when you disconnect and come back to this real world, you've done nothing. It's just like when you play a video game. You play a video game and you level up. You leveled up in the game, but when you turn the game off, what have you done? You leveled up, let's say you played the game for a whole week straight, but you did nothing but play that game. What did you do here in this reality for a week? Absolutely nothing. You've accomplished nothing. All your energy and attention went to a video game that you upgraded yourself in, and that vessel is nothing but an illusion, right? You played the game through a computer simulation. I'll make another video if I have anything to say, but we'll talk soon. Like if you liked it, and we'll talk soon.